How closely tied is that real estate collapse in China? If it really falls, if the bottom falls out, what is the impact here and globally to the economies of the world?
Well, I think we believe that this impact will be so big that we cannot really endure. It's going to be worse than 08. Because remember, like the United States still have like $7 trillion invested in the CCP. And now, like if the tension between US and China, the CCP, let's say, reached to some point, President Xi would like deliberately like just burst the bubble and cause a global, financial crisis. And that would be his opportunity. That's what totalitarian like do, right? Because he would think, okay, this is my time. I have already controlled like half the population of the whole world through BRICS, through the internationalization of RMB, and then he would just confiscate the $7 trillion and create a huge like financial crisis never seen before. And that would be his moment to take over Taiwan. That would be his moment to wage war against the West. And he's already started to do that through, releasing the CCP virus and having this vaccines and infiltrate into.
And also, for people that don't know, Roy, right now, the largest aircraft carrier tactical group ever set sail from China is operating not too far from American waters up toward Alaska. So the gears of war seem to be turning a little bit faster. I don't think anybody wins from a war with China and the United States. Russia's in this game as well. But economic collapse, in what you are saying, is the key for President Xi Jinping to step up and make some moves to create more power for himself.
Exactly. That's when he continued to gain control, like internal control, and also gain more control, like over the war plan and to carry out the war plan he's been having with Putin, like for decades.
Okay, you have just seen and you have just watched a video clip from our fellow NFSC fighters, Roy Guo, who talked in the real American voice about the CCP's plan to try to intentionally create an economic debacle in an attempt to try to destroy the US economy. Welcome to the CCP Reality Check special series. In tonight's live stream, we are going to look into, therefore, a further path into a much more detailed way to see how does the CCP is trying to plan to create an economic debacle in the United States as a part of its threat plan, and how does it using Lufax, an international asset management institution, to try to paralyze the entire US economy. So without further ado, we will look into Lufax for tonight's live. So first of all, before we go any further, let's take a look on what is Lufax. So the full name of Lufax, it is called Shanghai Lujiazui International Financial Asset Exchange Company Limited. So on an open channel, it states that its function is to create an online internet finance marketplace, and it has a sales revenue of $80.52 billion. More importantly, however, it receives investment from Western, well, we say the ETF or other venture funds, and I already attached a graph in the screen to let you take a look how much money has the money from Western countries start pouring in. And if we look a little bit further into the publicly available sources, it states itself that it is, quote, a technologically empowered private financial services platform, offers personal lending and wealth management solutions. But in reality, it's not the case, because in reality, Lufax is one of the many instruments of the CCP's financial warfare against the United States in an attempt to try to cripple the US economy. So we will just switch the screen to into that part. If you want me to explain the graph a little bit further, I'll explain it to you. the largest part, the largest share of the all the Western investment comes from Krane shares, CSI China Internet ETF. Then you have Barron Emerging Markets Fund. You have Vanguard Emerging Market Stock Index Fund, and another Vanguard fund. You have Baillie Gifford. You have the MSCI ETF. You have Fidelity. You have Bell Gifford, and you have Robeco Capital Fund, etc. All these funds that you can call out a name of, they have involved in this particular Lufax. So I already mentioned, we can just move to the next one, that the Lufax is actually one of the many instruments of CCP's financial warfare's instruments against the United States. So I understand what you're thinking. You're thinking that, oh, Lufax is just a financial institution, and of course, Lufax is doing a lot of financial services. But how does Lufax endanger America? So, how on earth does Lufax endanger America? Well, before I continue, I have to first take a look at a new concept called the ADR. So, what is an ADR, you might be thinking? So ADR, it's called an American Deposit Receipt. So what does it do? What does it do? So what it does is that it allows Americans to trade non-American firms directly without going through trans-border transactions. In a more layman term, it means that you don't have to go through a lot of saying you have to go to a foreign forex exchange, but you can just simply buy a foreign company stock inside the United States. That's what the ADR is supposed to do. And the reason that means you can buy a non-American firm inside the United States is because the money in the ADR will be going to the targeted non-US firms directly. So there are two major types of ADR transactions. One is called the OTC and level 1 sponsorship. Both are traded off exchange directly, sometimes a person to person. And another one is a level 2 and level 3. They all will be traded in exchanges such as the New York Stock Exchange, and therefore, which is very importantly, those two will be under the regulation or under the will be oversighted by the SEC, which is the Stock Exchange Security Exchange Commission. So I have introduced what ADR is, which basically means an instrument that allows American to buy non-US companies without doing the cross-border, without going to a foreign country. So the next question we have to ask ourselves will become, how does the CCP use ADR and Lufax to endanger the United States? Or more importantly, how is ADR being weaponized by the CCP against all Americans? Well, it's very well. That means the CCP is going to use all types of ADRs, including the OTC, level 1, level 2, and level 3, first to get money from American people and pension funds directly. But it is then a very important step. What the CCP is going to do with those money is that if there is enough money gets into the CCP's entities located in the communist China, then the CCP would intentionally bankrupt these ADR invested firms. So the purpose for them to intentionally bankrupt those ADR invested firms is to basically stop these vast amounts of the US dollar from going back to the United States. And with this amount of the United States dollar being stopped from going back to the United States, what the CCP is hoping to achieve, is hoping to do, is to trigger the collapse of the US stock market and even worse, an economic debacle. So let me explain that a little bit, because just a very simple term. I cannot go too deep on this, but it's just very simply saying that when the United States dollars, USD, is not flowing back to the United States, well, especially after a rate hike, like the one recently done by the Federal Reserve, then there will be insufficient money to support the U.S. economy. It will be there will be insufficient money to support of course, the currency values and of course the stock market, which will be a very, very, very dire consequences to everyone living in the U.S. So the thing is, people will be asking, well, do we have any examples of these entities? Sure, I do manage to find some of them, and some of the very notorious examples recently. The first one will be the Evergrande Group, which already owed $330 billion in USD. And then the second one is the Lufax, which we are talking about right now. It has 14.09 billion worth of the stocks issue, which basically has this much of capital getting in. Then we have a Country Garden. Well, the Country Garden is also a very notorious case because Country Garden owed $15 million, which will be due on September the 17th, and another $40 million on September the 27th, which will be due on September the 27th. And each of these two will have a 30-day grace period, and all of these dates will be ended in 2023. So that concludes how the CCP weaponizing ADR to using the purpose of not having USD go back to the United States as a part of its economic warfare that's waged against the United States. That's the first part of it. However, with that part alone is not enough to explain why Lufax will be posing very much a danger to the United States, US economy. Well, and also that alone does not provide a sufficient explanation on how does the Lufax as an institution or as a company connect itself to the CCP. So we will introduce another important key called the Twin Con Company Limited. So Mr. Miles Guo exposed in his past live stream that Twin Con Company Limited is Ping An Group's intermediary for investment in Lufax with foreign registration in British Virgin Islands. And there are further information coming in that according to its SC13G/A form, which is a form you filed with the SEC, the Twin Con Company Limited hold, wait a minute, 323,829,680 shares of Lufax Holding Limited, which makes it the number one institutional owner among all the institutional owners. But another reason for us to bring up the Twin Con firm is because the Twin Con's law firm is the same firm that colluded with CCP to wage unrestricted lawfare against Mr. Miles Guo, who has exposed the CCP's bioweapon plan, the COVID pandemic, and of course the CCP's corruption. Now, I have managed to find out a screenshot in the next part. I will show you how there's another very, very clear proof that this can be used as a very important evidence to show that it is one of this company is the front intermediary for Ping An to hold the entire Lufax. Let's put that for the full screen to get everyone a clear idea. Okay, because we have some technical difficulties, we decide to just let you show you this. Sorry if it's a little bit small. So take a closer look if you are able to take a closer look. It has the legal address being registered at the British Virgin Islands. But if you take a look at the headquarters address, by the way, that is open, publicly available information. It has the same headquarters address as the Ping An Group. The Ping An Group's address is said to be, it's listed here. It says Ping An Finance Ping An Finance Center. It says in Shenzhen, Futian District, Shenzhen, and it has the postal code, and the country, of course, is in Communist China. So the question here, but people maybe think, oh wow, this is just another British Virgin Island company, and it happens to, it is just working with the same financial center, which is a huge building. Yes, I know that's a huge building, but the problem is how on earth, if you take a closer look, how on earth does a single firm registered itself via the legal means can have floor 47, I said again, that's the floor, an entire floor 47, floor 48, floor 108, floor 109, floor 1110 to floor 1112. You have this much floors of buildings belongs to a firm that is legally registered in British Virgin Islands. Think for yourself, how can that be possible? If that doesn't help clear out what is happening, what is something wrong with the Tuen Kong firm, then we will take a look at the Ping An Group itself. We will take a look at the Ping An Group itself so that it will help people understand what is wrong with the Tuen Kong Group. So we will take a look what Ping An Group is, and then via Ping An Group's connection to the CCP regime, we will help you to take a look how does Lufax connect to the CCP regime. So Ping An Group is controlled by the CCP from behind, and in particular, we already said it's by Wang Qishan, the former number 2 of the CCP regime. And Lufax is a subsidiary of the Ping An Group. And then on September the 7th, 2021, Mr. Miles Guo mentioned in his live stream that the potential financial crisis that will be caused by Lufax and Ma Mingzhe, of course, if it is of a nuclear level. Well, some people may find it a little bit strange. What does it even mean? Well, here's the interesting part. Ping An Group is a part of the CCP's economic nuclear bomb that was designed to destroy the Western economy, with the CCP's weaponization of the ADRs and Western pension and trapping the Western pension funds invested into the CCP's entities. So with that being explained, that should be very clear that Lufax by the Ping An Group connects itself, which is another route to show that Lufax is connected to the CCP regime. So now you may think, oh, so institutional-wise, that Lufax is connected to the CCP regime. But what about a man? What about the man who runs the Lufax? It's Lufax, or at least the man who runs Ping An. Well, the man who runs Ping An is another important detail to looking into in order to understand deeper how does the Lufax connected to the CCP. So, of course, we will take a look who Peter Ma or Ma Mingzhe is. So, Peter Ma, he is the chairman of the Ping An Insurance. He founded Ping An in 1998, and he is the former deputy general manager of the social insurance group of China Merchants Group before joining Ping An. But there's two important details. Several important details, by the way, I'm sorry. That the Ma Mingzhe is an active card-carrying member of the CCP regime. And there's another catch. There are other catches about Ma Mingzhe. You may find it very interesting to know that there's something even more to this man who is, well, operating on behalf of the CCP's kleptocrats of the entire group. So the catch about Ma Mingzhe is this. Number one, the financial regulations in Communist China makes it extremely hard for private individuals to set up financial institutions without political connections. As this is already an open secret. Then, Ma Ming-je did not have qualifications on finance back then. He doesn't have the, which means he doesn't have the knowledge of the finance field. And the CCP usually appoint government, or all the times the CCP appoint government officials based on the extent of political personal connections, instead of qualifications. And it is then become very clear that the appointed government officials are working for and to enrich the CCP kleptocrats. Now, this is another important detail to look into, because I have mentioned in the previous part that Peter Ma is working for China Merchants Group before he founds the Ping An Group. So what is this China Merchants Group? The China Merchants Group is an entity owned by the CCP, and it is a straight-out state-owned enterprise. So that means that Peter Ma is not only just connected to the CCP's kleptocrats. That means he is working for the CCP kleptocrat interests. So that is how, via Peter Ma, Lufax is connected to the CCP. Now, there's another important route that we have to look into, is that Lufax is actually a part of the CCP's BGI plan. So now you may be thinking, wow, you have Ping An Group connected to the CCP. You have Peter Ma, the owner of another owner, but the operator or the CEO, the former CEO, and now the chair of the board, who is connected to the CCP, and we now come down to the Lufax being a part of the BGI plan. So, how is that going to work? Well, in order to understand how is that going to work, we are going to looking back to what BGI plan is. So, what is the BGI plan? The BGI plan, it has three parts: blue, gold, and yellow. So when we say blue here is referring to intelligence infiltration to the West, and gold, it refers to bribery and corruption through money. Yellow means the act of providing sexual favors to corrupt or to bribe, and later using the sexual relationship videotape to blackmail the Western elites or figures in key positions into working for the CCP regime, and often children are involved in sexual bribes. Okay, so this is what BGI plan is. Now, we looking into the part, how is Lufax connected to the BGI? So according to the past Moscow's Grand Live stream, that one of the Lufax function, he said it very clearly, is to buy off American political families. And that means that there are American political families invested in this institution called the Lufax. Not only that, as we have shown earlier, so I just put it out in words, that some of these earliest investors to the Lufax are Krane funds, Goldman Sachs, Blackstone, Bridgewater, European and US retirement funds, Capital Group, Ratan, Baillie, Gifford, and UBS. All these groups, you name it, and all these groups that you heard of, or you can name them, have invested a lot of money into Lufax. But it doesn't end there, because Mr. Moscow also said the largest, most valuable, and the most deceptive engineered to collapse asset of Ping An Group is Lufax. Now you're thinking back to how the CCP is going to weaponize weaponizing the ADR, how Lufax is connected to the CCP in the line of Ping An Group, in the line of Peter Ma, and of course in the line that the Lufax serving as a part of the BGY. That makes Lufax indeed the largest, most valuable, and most deceptive engineered to collapse asset of Ping An Group. So now we have seen this much of the evidences and issues and all these facts about Lufax, and as we already know, as we see all the things for now, that Lufax as one of the instruments of the CCP's financial warfare against the United States. So we have to ask a big question: that how much U.S. money has been sent to the CCP's kleptocrats by this type of investment? Think about this. Among these money, it can be your pension funds, it can be your college funds you saved for your kids. It could be funds for people who are hoping to trying to doing investments as their own personal interest. It can be anything, but ultimately, at the end of the day, this is your money, the Americans' money. I mean, it could be even people from the money from other countries. It can be the money for people from other countries who are residing in the United States. And with all these things, all these facts we have laid out here on how Lufax is being used as an instrument, one of the many instruments that the CCP is using against the United States in the form of the financial warfare, we just don't know how much more money has been invested into dangerous type of assets like this. Can there be any safe future for our assets and for our personal properties? Can there be any safety to these things if the CCP and its entities are still around like that? The answer is very clear. The answer is a negative one. So thank you very much for joining tonight's live stream. And in the next one, we may be doing some other themes. We will be looking more into uncover how the CCP is trying to wage the unrestricted warfare against the United States from different angle and from different perspectives. And until then, I will see you next time. And that's the end for today's live stream. And thank you for watching. And if you have any questions, you're very welcome to comment. You're very welcome to follow our channel. And you're very welcome to leave a comment in the comment sections. And I'll be seeing you next time. And until then, be well.